Today we will be talking about the quotient rule. We'll start off by going over a formal definition, and then we'll continue on with a couple of examples. The quotient rule is a formal rule for differentiating problems where one function is divided by another. If the two functions f of x and g of x are differentiable, then the quotient is differentiable and the derivative of f over g equals g times f prime minus f times g prime over g squared. Be sure not to mix up these two parts of the rule because they're not interchangeable. You can't just take whatever you want to do first. And a mnemonic that people like to use to help remember what needs to be differentiated first is low, d high. And what d high means is you take the derivative of the high, or derivative of f, minus high, d low. And that's like the same thing, except instead of taking the derivative of f of x, you take the derivative of g. And all of that is over low squared. And like I said, that's just a mnemonic that people like to use to help remember what needs to be differentiated first. So now we can move on to a couple of examples. Right here, we have y equals 2 over x minus 1. So going back to our rule, you can see that you take g first, or low. In this case, it's x minus 1 times f prime, or the derivative of 2. And the derivative of any constant is simply 0. Subtract, and then f, in this case it's 2, and g prime is x minus 1, the derivative of that. And that is simply 1. And then you divide by g squared, or x minus 1 squared. When you simplify that out, you end up getting negative 2 on the top, and x minus 1 squared on the bottom. And this is your answer. And what the quotient rule solves for is the slope of the tangent. So that's what you have just found, the slope of the tangent. Let's move on to one more example. Right here we have y equals 4x cubed minus 7x over 5x squared plus 2. And it's the same exact process. You go back to your quotient rule down here, start by low d high, and the derivative of 4x cubed minus 7 is 12x squared minus 7 minus high d low. And the derivative of 5x squared plus 2 is 10x. And all of that is over g squared. And you can simplify that out, and to simplify it out, you simply multiply everything across the top, being careful to use order of operations. And the final answer you end up with is 20x to the fourth plus 59x squared minus 14. All of that is over g squared. And that is your final answer. And same as the last example, what you just solved for is the slope of the tangent. And that is how the quotient rule works. It's fairly simple. Just remember that the derivative of f over g equals g times f prime minus f times g prime over g squared, or just remember the mnemonic, which is low d high minus high d low over low squared. And also remember that what this is solving for is the slope of the tangents.